Welcome to the Storytime with Dad podcast. Today, we'll be reading The Three Little Pigs. Once upon a time, there was an old mother pig who had 3 little pigs and not enough food to feed them. So when they were old enough, she sent them out into the world to seek their fortunes. The first little pig was very lazy. He didn't want to work at all, and he built his house out of straw. The second little pig worked a little bit harder, but he was lazy too, and he built his house out of sticks. Then they sang, and they danced, and they played together the whole rest of the day. The third little pig, though, worked hard all day long. He built his house with bricks. It was a strong house, and it even had a fine fireplace and a chimney. It looked like it could withstand really strong winds. The next day, a wolf happened to pass by the lane where the 3 little pigs lived, and he saw the straw house, and he smelled the pig inside, and he thought that pig would make a mighty fine meal, and his mouth began to water. So he knocked on the door, and he said, little pig, let me in, let me in." But the little pig saw the wolf's big paws through the keyhole, so he answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs on my chinny chin chin." Then the wolf showed his teeth, and he said, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down." So he huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house down. The wolf opened his jaws very wide and bit down as hard as he could, but the first little pig escaped and ran away to hide with the second little pig. The wolf continued down the lane as he passed by the second house made of sticks, and he saw the house, and he smelled those pigs inside, and his mouth began to water as he thought about the fine dinner they would make. So he knocked on the door, and he said, little pigs, let me in, let me in." But the little pigs saw the wolf's pointy ears through the keyhole, so they answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs on her chinny chin chin." So the wolf showed his teeth and said, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down." So he huffed, and he puffed, and he blew the house down. The wolf was greedy, and he tried to catch both pigs at once, but he was too greedy, and he got neither. His big jaws clamped down on nothing but air, and the 2 little pigs scrambled away as fast as their little hooves would carry them. The wolf chased them down the lane, and he almost caught them, but they made it to the brick house and slammed the door closed before the wolf could catch them. The 3 little pigs, they were very frightened, and they knew the wolf wanted to eat them. And that was very, very true. The wolf hadn't eaten at all that day, and he had worked up quite a large appetite chasing the pigs around. And now that he could smell all 3 of them inside, he knew that the 3 little pigs would make a lovely feast. So the wolf knocked on the door, and he said, little pigs, let me in, let me in." But the little pigs saw the wolf's narrow eyes through the keyhole, so they answered back, "No, no, no, not by the hairs on our chinny chin chin." So the wolf showed his teeth, and he said, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down." Well, he huffed, and he puffed. He puffed, and he huffed, and he huffed, and he puffed. But he couldn't blow that house down. At last, he was so out of breath that he couldn't huff and he couldn't puff anymore. So he stopped to rest, and he thought a bit. But this was too much. The wolf danced about with rage, and he swore he would come down the chimney and eat up the little pig for his supper. But while he was climbing onto the roof, the little pig made up a blazing fire and put on a big pot full of water to boil. Then, just as the wolf was coming down the chimney, the little piggy pulled off the lid, and plop! In fell the wolf into the scalding water. So the little piggy put the cover back on again. He boiled up the wolf, and the 3 little pigs ate him for dinner. The end. I hope you liked today's story. It's an old one, first published in 1890 by Joseph Jacobs. I enjoyed reading it to you, and hope to make this a long-running series into the future. Sometimes we'll read classic stories like The Three Little Pigs, and other times we'll have original stories, or rhymes, or who knows what else. But you have my promise that it's always going to be wholesome, magical, and aimed at a younger audience. But I also don't think that any story from Dad's going to be complete without a little bit of advice to go along with it. So my takeaway from today's story is that it's better to work hard and do a job well than to do it poorly and goof off. While goofing off is fun at the time, more often than not you're just going to hurt yourself in the long run. It'll probably need to be redone later, and you'll have twice as much work on your hands because you have to undo the mess that you made in the first place. So do your work now, and when it's done, then you can play, and you'll actually be able to enjoy yourself. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next time.